Hey everybody, hopefully everybody's having a wonderful night. Hopefully everybody's doing good. Hope you guys are staying safe out there. Hopefully you guys are being smart with decisions, for the ones that do have to go into work and have to do everything, because you guys are essential. Hope you guys are staying safe out there and you guys are playing it smart for the ones that are allowed to work from home. I hope you guys are enjoying your time with your loved ones right now with your significant others, or you're just taking some self-care into trying to do your part, as everybody is trying to do their part for this whole pandemic thing to die down. As long as everybody does their part, the quicker we do it, the quicker we can get back to running normal lives. So hopefully everybody's doing safe, everybody's doing fine. And as always, prayers to you guys, and let's get this show on the road. So as always, my name is Juan Rodriguez. I go by Junior. This is coming to you live from YouTube Live. So the comments are open. I have my helper. She'll be reading comments. She'll flag me down on the Facebook Live app. So any questions that you guys might have following our sports page, she'll wave me down and we'll answer questions. And then after the video, any questions that didn't happen or I didn't see or whatever, she will tell me and I'll answer as best as I can. So today is the seventh pick in this video, the mock draft. It is the Carolina Panthers' turn, and their their season started, or they ended, I should say, at 5-11, which granted them the seventh pick. They fired Ron Rivera and they hired Matt Rhule, the new head coach. And a lot of changes in Carolina, and I think I can't express this enough. As the NFL just celebrated their 100th year, there's going to be a lot of changes everywhere. There's going to be a lot of changes everywhere, and Carolina just happens to be in that fold where they are part of the change and part of the change in culture and coaches, culture, everything. It's a whole new change, and what I mean by that, as I stated earlier, they fired Ron Rivera, who was a really good coach for them. It was just wasn't working out anymore. It happens. It's always, it didn't last that long. His firing didn't last that long, as he eventually got the job in Washington. Now he's a Redskin. He's the head coach of the Redskins, and he's going to try his best over there, which I think he will. I think he's one of the smarter coaches in the NFL. I think he's really one of those coaches where you kind of want to build. If you have a young team, you want to build. But this Matt Rhule, as the new head coach, one of his very first moves was to hire Joe Brady, who was the offensive coordinator for LSU, who just recently won a championship, and he decided to bring him along to be the new offensive coordinator for the Panthers. Excuse me. Well, I guess I'll wash my hands after this video. So, um, so he brought in Joe Brady, the new offensive coordinator for LSU. What can I say? I mean, I think the first things first is, a lot of people weren't really too excited about this hire, whether they didn't think he deserved it or more, what I like to think is that he's not a known name. I think what Panther fans are really missing out on or were really upset about is, they hired a guy who's just a college guy, and, a lot of people really believe that he doesn't belong. And, just to, give my take on it, I believe he does deserve a shot. Everywhere he's went, whether it was an assistant, a coordinator, or a head coach, he turned programs around. And, I believe he deserves a shot. And I'll give you an example here. He was his first head coaching gig was at Temple University. I understand not a household, college team, but nonetheless, it's still a Division One team. And I'll give you an example. His first year, not great. 2013, 2-10. 2014, 6-6. They got better. And then 2015, they ended up at 10-4. And 2016, they ended up 10-3. And then, contract came up to an end, and they didn't offer him one. Then he went to Baylor. Started in 2017 to 2019. So in 2017, he went 1-11. not great again as his first year. 2018, 7-6, a little better, and then 2019, 11-3. So what I'm trying to say to you guys, and for a lot of people out there that don't, you can ask anybody. We've probably seen it all. I'm sure there's a certain individual at ESPN who didn't believe that Matt Rhule deserved this head coaching job. I mean, for whether it was personal reasons, whether it was his opinion, which he has that opinion, but I think like most fans and most other people, they just didn't know who he was. They thought they were going to go for a big name. They didn't. And the way I see it is, why not give him a shot? He deserves a shot as much as anybody else. I mean, the numbers are there. Everywhere he's went, he's turned it around. So, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see if he can turn around this Panthers team. But I mean, given the track record that he's had as a coordinator, as an assistant, and as head coaches at two universities where they were so down in the dumps, to turn them into, winners, I don't see why it couldn't work for him in the NFL. It's a different aspect, different league, different everything. You're not recruiting. You have to coach men now that are paid to do this job. But if his track record proves anything, it proves that he deserves a chance. He deserves a chance to coach this team. And I believe he deserves as much as anybody else that was out there, as much as anybody else that got interviewed for that job. They felt at that time, Don Teppers, the owner of the Panthers, believed he was the right man for the right job. So we'll see what happens. And another thing where I think a lot of people are kind of don't know what to feel about him is because of his offseason moves. And just to name you a couple, as of yesterday, Cam Newton is no longer the quarterback of the Carolina Panthers. They released him. I thought they were going to do that a lot sooner. I believed, especially after they signed Teddy Bridgewater, I thought they were going to do it a lot sooner. I thought they were going to try to trade him or just let him go entirely. But they waited until yesterday to let him go, which was kind of an unexpected move, kind of just a weird thing to kind of do. Usually when you're going to make big moves like this, you do it as soon as possible just to get the distractions out of the way. But they waited. I'm pretty sure they were hoping to find a trade candidate. Nobody bit, so they cut him, saved up nearly 20 million in cap space, and that's the end of it. Cam Newton is now a free agent after almost 9 years on that team, 8, 9 years on that team. Him being the former number one pick in 2011, I'm pretty sure he'll find a job. I mean, he's still young. He's 31. I understand that a couple injuries have kind of derailed him a little bit, but I think he'll find a job pretty sooner than later. So there's that one. Greg Olsen, he's gone, the longtime tight end for the Panthers. Started his career in Chicago, then he signed with the Panthers early in his career, and then kind of stayed there for the majority of his career. And now he's a Seahawk, which I found really interesting because at the time, Seattle did have a promising tight end in Will Disley. He was coming along good, but then he got hurt and nobody took over then. I think Greg Olson's going to bring veteran presence to that tight end room. And, him and Will Disley, if, hopefully he gets healthy, they'll be a good combo together for Russell Wilson, which is what Russell Wilson needs, another weapon, So, but, let's see how that turns out. And then Trey Turner, the longtime guard for the Panthers, got traded, as I said yesterday, to the Chargers for Russell Okung. Now Russell Okung is a Carolina Panther. Trey Turner is now a Charger. And more details on that Trey Turner trade from yesterday's video about the Chargers. And I think the most shocking thing about this whole Panthers offseason, Luke Kuechly retiring from the NFL. Luke Kuechly coming out of Boston College, not much other than you really couldn't picture him at that time a first round pick, especially a top 10, because he just did not look a lot like a future middle linebacker, all pro, linebacker at that time coming out of Boston College, but proved us all wrong. And I'm the first one to admit it. I didn't think he was going to be anything crazy. Maybe a good player, but I didn't think he was going to have the career. And I'm willing to, you know, eat my words on that. Some odd years later, but Luke Kuechly, one of the best middle linebackers at his time, is now retired at the ripening age of 29. And he said it himself. He was just tired. He mentally, physically, and emotionally, he was just tired. He was done. Um, I truly believe that there will be a chance that he might come back, but looking at it, I think it just, maybe he just needs a year or two off to kind of refresh his body because, he does play a physical position and he did have an injury at the later end of his career. And I think that's just what factored into it. I think he was just done. But what an amazing career this guy had. I mean, there was really not much anything negative you can say. I mean, he can cover, he can tackle, he's an extra pass rusher. He's just everything you look for in a prototypical middle linebacker in the NFL. He was that. And it's a shame that he retired at 29, but it's his choice. And, anybody that's a Panther fan, a non-Panther fan can respect the fact that what we saw was probably one of the best middle linebacker plays since Ray Lewis, honestly. And those are very hard shoes to fill, and he did amazing. So whether he comes back or not, he has nothing left to prove. He was the best at his position at his time, and I wish him all the best, and hopefully, he recovers soon and just has a good life from here on out. He did his thing. So as far as free agency for the Panthers, as I mentioned, they signed Teddy Bridgewater um, the first week of free agency, which was pretty cool. They're giving Teddy a chance. Teddy Bridgewater has had an interesting career. Former first round pick with the Vikings. Then he had a freak injury at practice that really just kind of threw his career off course a little bit. Signed with the Saints as a backup. Was just riding the bench for a little bit, and then this past season, Drew Brees got hurt. Teddy came in, and he did his thing. He did his thing. I know a lot of people are going to look at it and like, stats wise and numbers wise, it didn't look impressive, but he did what he had to do. He did his job as best as he could as a backup. He came in, he did his thing. He made little to no mistakes. He helped his team win all his starts until Drew came back. And that was it. I think this signing was more of a Joe Brady signing than anything. I think he just didn't think that Cam can run his offense, and he believed that Teddy could, and that's why they gave him that huge contract of 3 years, 63 million. Per which would turn out to be 21 a year. I think he believes that he can run the system better than Cam can, and that was their choice. So, with that being said, it's cool to see Teddy now a starter again, a full-time starter, and let's see what happens there. And we just got to go from there. We got to go from there and see what happens. And then I would believe it was yesterday or today, actually, they signed Robbie Anderson from the Jets on a 2-year, $20 million deal. Probably not the contract he was looking for because Robbie Anderson at that time, before free agency started, he was one of those highly named wide receivers coming out that his contract was up and, he thought his market was this. Well, his market turned out to be 2-year, $20 million, which is kind of like a prove it deal with Carolina. And I have no doubt in my mind if he proves it in Carolina, he'll get an extension or he'll sign somewhere else because at the end of it, it's only 2 years. And I think he'll be like 26, 27, which is still young for a free agent, which you don't see a lot no more. And again, they traded for Russell Okung. They had to give up Trey Turner, but they got Russell Okung, which is left tackle they've been missing in Carolina for a while. Matt Khalil all these guys, they just weren't cutting it anymore. They by age, and all these guys they just weren't cutting it no more. Greg Little, still young, and he's just probably not ready to be a left tackle. But I think with Russell Okung, I think he'll prep him up and he'll just try to make him as best as he could, shape him, mold him, whatever it may be. So as we said, Matt Rhule, thing about him, his style is very, very unique. And I say that because he's a defensive minded guy. So when you look at, or I'm sorry, not defensive, offensive minded, when you look at his records and everything, you look at his numbers from Temple and Baylor, they were always the high scoring team. And they were always, one of those teams where, they could put 35 to 40 week in and week out, whether he was at Temple, whether he was at Baylor. That's just his style. It's just, gun blazing. Let's just go down and let's just go deep and let's score quick and let's score fast. And he's going to try to implement that in Carolina now, and we'll see how it goes from there. So, it's going to be interesting. I can't wait to see, because that division now just got it just got different. From Brees coming back to the Saints, Tom Brady is now a Buccaneer, Teddy Bridgewater is now a Carolina Panther, and now, which is funny to say, Atlanta, and all their starters, like if the season were to start today and you look at their depth, every position is a former first round pick, which is like, you know, it's crazy to say that, you know what I mean? It's really crazy to say that, they have every position is a former first round pick. And I don't know if that's ever been done, but it's going to be pretty amazing to see it play out. Let's see how it works out for them. But for today, it's the Panthers, and um, let's see what happens. And like I said earlier, he's a more of offensive minded, so he had to get a good defensive coordinator, which he did. And I think what it is too with his defensive coordinator, he really, you know, his defensive coordinator really likes, how can I put it? He likes athletic, high upside picks. And what I mean by that is if you're an athlete and you're on the defensive side, more than likely you're going to be picked up, and he's going to try to get Matt Rhule to take you. And I think Matt Rhule should listen, because him and Joe Brady should worry about the offense, and he should get the defensive coordinator everything he needs to succeed. And, that's not to say that they won't. They still have some really good players. Even though Luke Kuechly retired, they still have Brian Burns. They have Shaq Thompson, Dante Jackson, the corner, Trey Boston, the safety. They're going to be okay. They're going to be fine. I think one of the weakest things is probably that defensive line. So, I mean, with that being said, here's my prediction for the sixth pick, or the seventh pick, I'm sorry, for the 2020 NFL draft. Yeah, everybody loves that sound. Even my little camera person loves that sound. But with the seventh pick in the 2020 NFL draft, the Carolina Panthers select Derek Brown, defensive tackle out of Auburn. Like I said earlier, his defensive coordinator, he loves athletic, high upside talent on defensive side of the ball. So to put it in perspective, Derek Brown, he's 6'4", 326. He ran a 5.1640 time, which is really good for a defensive tackle. 28 bench presses, 27-inch vertical, 9-inch broad jump, 8 flat on the 3-cone drill, and then a 4.8 on the 20-yard shuttle. So everything you're looking for in a defensive tackle, these are kind of the numbers that you want. It just shows that, hey, he is a defensive tackle with the traits and the numbers he has. And also 34 and a half hand size and a 9-inch hand, or 34 and a half arm length and 9-inch hand size. That's perfect for, going one-on-one with the centers and guards, interior linemen on the offensive side. Everything about Derek Brown cannot be said enough. He's a great football player. but I think most importantly, he's a good person. Not a lot of off the field issues. As far as none, he has no off the field issues. He interviewed great with almost every team coming out of the combine from what we're hearing. And Derek Brown is one of those players where you just look at him and you say, man, he's just a really good athlete. And it shows, whether he was double teamed or, one on one in situations, it always seemed that he won the battles majority of the time. Um, Talk about that speed that he has. Tackle for losses, he's there. He stuffs the running play. Sacks the quarterback, he's there. Defensive, this guy is really one of the better defensive tackles in recent memories, other than Aaron Donald, who was just a freak of nature and his accolades speak for himself. But Derek Brown, he's no pushover. He really is good as advertised. I know that in Auburn they did a lot of different, movements. They did a lot of 4-3, 3-4s. They were really all around, but I think where he'll fit better is in Carolina. Now that they're running the 3-4, I think what it is now is it will get all the linebackers to they'll finally use all their linebacker skills to finally, open up the defense and everything. And um, as far as Derek Brown, that's just it. That's just as much as I got. He's just one of those smart kids, physical kids, and he's good as he's advertised. And I think if the seventh pick came out and Derek Brown was still there, I think whoever's going to hand that card to Roger Goodell is going to be doing backflips because this is a piece that they're missing. They added Gerald McCoy only for a year. Well, now he's somewhere else now. I think he's in Dallas now. I think from the last time I heard, Star Lutulele, he's gone. So they've really been missing that defensive tackle presence for quite a few seasons now. And I think this is the perfect way to start building your defense from the inside out. You get the best defensive tackle coming out of the draft, and you just go from there. And there's really not much other to say than we'll see how it goes because his job now is going to be looked at. You have to bring the other quarterbacks down. You have to bring down Drew Brees twice a year. You have to bring down Tom Brady now twice a year, and you have to bring down Matt Ryan twice a year. So it's going to be interesting, but I think if he were to fall to 7, I think Carolina should, be doing backflips to the podium to give that card because that's any other year. I don't think he would go outside of top 5, but because of other needs in this year's draft, they're just probably going to get that lucky. So Derek Brown with the 7th pick is my prediction, and that will be it for me tonight, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in. Tomorrow, Arizona is on the clock, and this is actually a team I've been waiting to talk about because they did probably one of the biggest robberies in NFL history, getting DeAndre Hopkins with the 4th, but I will explain that more tomorrow. As for right now, anything? Nobody? No comments, no nothing tonight? All right, short day today. All right, you all have a wonderful night, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Take care.